Thank you so much, Simon, and good afternoon again. Let me try that again. Good afternoon again. Doing the last session is always a joy. Is always a joy because either I'm keeping you from a train back home or from lunch. So all of you who here obviously want to listen to what I have to say. So that's the joy part of it. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for your interest in our session. Today is all about AI, right? And how AI is revolutionizing the way we look at fleets, the way we look at safety, the way we look at the behavior of drivers, right? And I don't need to tell all of you that this is a tough business. I don't need to tell you that this is a tough business, right? It's a business which, it's all about risk, let's put it that way, right? Whether it's a risk of a fatality due to an accident, whether it's the risk of liability, right, from insurance claims, whether it's the risk of losing drivers who honestly are a precious commodity today, right? It's all about risk, right? And technology today, especially with AI and AI connected with vision, with cameras, is playing a significant role in bringing the whole risk to actually manageable levels, right? Which is a huge improvement from what they were. How many of you have camera systems on vehicles, on your fleets, or are familiar with camera systems? I'm sure, and thank you for that one. Familiar faces just here to pull my leg, but anyway, the UK has been a very early adopter of camera systems, right? And camera systems worked beautifully to give you context, the video context of events, the video context of drive times, and so on, right? It also helped in exoneration, right? It also helped in giving you evidence that what actually happened. But what earlier camera systems did not give you was the ability to use vision to actually predict and avoid untoward incidents. And that's where AI has actually come in and made a huge change. So video gives you the context, but AI then gives you the ability to add risk to that context, predict and avoid untoward incidents from happening. And that's been a major shift in the way fleets have actually looked at risk mitigation and are now moving on from just camera-based systems to AI camera-based systems. So my next question, how many of you are aware or are using AI-based camera systems? Thank you again. But basically what AI does, right? And we are seeing it in real life today. Whether it's our customers or customers using similar technology to ours, they are clearly saying that the data shows that after deploying this technology, their accident rates have come down up to 50%, right? Now, 50% is a huge decrease in accidents. And if you go back to the previous slide and actually connect what that means, is the whole risk of fatalities, the whole risk of the commercial risk of downtimes, the risk of liability, all of that gets reduced by up to 50% using AI technologies. Traffic violations, right? Our customers are telling us that traffic violations have come down by up to 90%, right? Driving behavior of drivers is changing positively. And I'll tell you in a bit how we measure that and how technology can help measure that. And most importantly, and I was watching the panel discussion which happened the session before last. One of the points which was brought up during that panel session was there is now so much of data being collected, in a particular vehicle, right? AI gives you the ability to convert that data into meaningful information, and then that meaningful information gives you the insights to make positive decisions, right? And this is just a depiction of, all the kinds of data that you can get. For example, today, with systems like ours, you can actually, capture the data of an entire drive time. Based on that entire drive time of your fleet, you can slice and dice it by driver, by vehicle, by route, and make the correlations by alerts, by the kind of alerts that drivers generate, right? Trends. Are a particular set of drivers consistently violating speed restrictions, right? Is there a specific demography of drivers who are always distracted or talking on the phone, right? It gives you context and the ability to actually make insightful decisions based on all the data that's getting gathered. How does this actually happen, right? And this is basically what we call the safety pyramid, right? And at the bottom of the safety pyramid is everything that almost all of us are very used to, right? It's basic telematics data, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, right? Speed thresholds, U-turn detections, and so on, right? But the addition of cameras and AI cameras then adds a new dimension on top of what you can track on the telematics level. So the next level is actually looking at the characteristics of the driver himself, right? Is he wearing a seatbelt? Is he talking on the phone? Is he distracted? And today we've got very technology which is very, very detailed around fatigue management. Is the driver actually going to fall asleep? Is he already in that sleep kind of mode? And has he slept? You can actually get different grades of each one of these situations through AI, right? So that's all about the inward-looking analytics. Then you have the outward AI, which the camera does, which basically detects what your vehicle is doing with respect to everything else on the road. Whether it's with respect to speed signs, traffic signs, pedestrians, other vehicles on the road, right? All of that is what an external camera through analytics can do today. We've got innovations coming in every day. For example, we now have the ability to actually track weather conditions, right? Is this vehicle on your fleet now entering a zone which has dense fog, right? If you have dense fog, then you as a fleet safety manager can reduce the speed limit for those set of vehicles from, say, 50 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. Immediate impact, right? We've got now the ability to detect compound alerts. For example, all of us are aware of following distance, right? I mean, how close your vehicle is to the vehicle in front of you. Now, in itself, a following distance could probably be a moderate kind of an alert because you can correct it very quickly, right? But if your vehicle is following too closely and at the same time the driver is talking on the phone, then the risk actually accelerates pretty dramatically. Wouldn't you agree? Right? From a moderate kind of alert, it suddenly becomes very severe. And you want to take action immediately on that, right? So those are the kind of things which AI actually does today, right? And that's a combination of the inward and the outward camera. Now, on top of all of this is actually the intelligence of data and what you can actually do with that data, right? Most systems now have scoring methodologies, right? Where you can actually score your drivers based on the kind of driving behavior that they actually display. So imagine this, right? Assume you have 100 vehicles in your fleet, and you probably have about 150 or 160 drivers driving those vehicles, right? AI gives you the ability to score them based on the kind of alerts that they generate, right? And for us, we call it green zone scores. These green zone scores are actually based on algorithms which convert driving behavior into a risk prediction score, right? Now, it's very important to understand that drivers always don't want to be told that they're doing something bad, right? I mean, all of us are human beings, right? And to be given the stick all the time really is not ideal. So there are now methods to also increase carrots or positive reinforcements for the drivers. For example, if a driver slows down on the road to allow another vehicle to come into the lane, we categorize that as good driving behavior, and we actually give the driver positive points. Now, the score, actually what it does is engages the drivers, right? It engages them, it gives them the motivation and the aspiration to become better, to be the highest scoring driver, right? And because you're capturing scores, the fleet manager then understands who are my top 10% of drivers whom I really need to take care of, who are the bottom 10% who need help, who need coaching, and what kind of coaching do they actually need. And the kind of coaching is really important because video gives you the context, right? Today, we even have the next step where we have virtual coaching. So if your driver, for example, has a driver app, on a weekly basis, you can actually have 2 videos from his driving week be sent to him, which tells him that, look, this week your fleet score was X. Your average fleet score was X. Your score was Y. But if you had taken care of these 2 infractions, your score could potentially have been Z, right? So it motivates the driver even more to actually improve. So if you look at it holistically, right, what does this mean? What has AI just done for us? What AI has done for us is, from the first step where it detects a potential event, there is a real-time cabin alert, so you've averted possible untoward incident from happening because of that real-time alert. Secondly, because of your scoring mechanism, you've actually been able to engage drivers, to encourage them to behave better on the roads, right? And a lot of companies have gamified these scores. So they actually attach rewards and recognition to these scores. And finally, through coaching, you're actually driving a continuous improvement cycle, which then goes to the next step of continuing to improve safety, right? That's really the impact that AI has driven into the ability to actually increase safety. Does that make sense? Yeah? And, we've got data to actually show the correlation between scoring and accident rates, right? As you can see, and the y-axis, I don't know if it's very clear, but the y-axis actually shows you the number of accidents per million miles of driving, right? If you look at it, from the time when a fleet or a driver starts their scoring, and as the scoring improves, the accident rates fall pretty dramatically, right? And this is actually real life data that we've collected from drive times of fleets who are on our technology. So this is real. Just a couple of examples of what the tech really does. As you can see, you've got a driver who's talking on the phone. The system recognizes that there is, an alert is sent. As soon as the alert is sent, you will see that, immediately the reaction of the driver is to turn the phone off and put it down, right? The fact of the matter is, all of us drive cars today which beep, right? All of us do. And it's sometimes, you just follow what it wants you to do because you want to get that beep out of your ear, right? And that's an unconscious way of coaching the driver. But this really works from an in-cab alerts point of view. Just another example of, how intuitive the system is. You can actually see that the blue sign actually says how many seconds is your vehicle away from colliding. It recognizes that there's a major red light crossing in 2 seconds. It's able to, in real time, actually predict and tell the driver that there is action, real action, which needs to get taken while driving, without really causing, a huge amount of distraction either. This is just a set of data from the UK which we've collected. And it's basically showing how, as drivers adopt the technology, there is clearly a difference in the way accident rates occur. So you can see in the first 6 months, the accident rates actually take a gradual dip, right? But as drivers get into the 7th and the 9th month of driving, you can see that accident rates come down pretty dramatically. We've not plotted this properly because you still find those peaks and troughs based on specific events happening. But if you look at an overall curve, you can see that very, very quickly, within 3 months or 6 months of adoption, accident rates have a clear impact, right? So it's all about re-innovating the way you look at safety, right? The technology today allows you to capture and analyze every driving minute of a drive time of a route, right? It allows you to integrate with your existing systems so that you get better insight as to what your data is telling you. Automated coaching, I spoke about it. Today, the drivers have the ability to be self-correcting in a way, right? You can predict now your safeties based on your scores, based on your fleet scores. And I know that especially in the UK and the rest of Europe, privacy is a big deal, right? Today we have the ability to actually let each organization define how they want privacy to be for their specific fleets, right? From just basic blurring right up to saying that nobody, drivers are anonymized, pseudonymized, only drivers see their own videos. You can do whatever you want in terms of ensuring that all your privacy and your PI data is kept safe and secure. And finally, all of this put together has a huge impact on, obviously, safety, but also the optimization of your assets. And your assets are your vehicles, your drivers, the cargo that you carry, right? All of this put together has a tremendous impact on the overall wellness, if you will, of your fleet. And this is my last slide. I call it the advertisement slide. This is the only slide which talks about us. We're a company called Netradyne. We're now on our 10th year of existence, our 7th year of shipping AI-based safety products based on cameras. We now have about 3,500 customers worldwide, about little less than 500,000 vehicles with our tech actually deployed. We started only being present in the US and in India. We're now pretty much global. We have about close to 16,000 vehicles running in the UK, and we're looking to scale that. We're also present in the rest of Europe, in Asia Pacific, and in the Americas. And we have a number of customers, a couple of them who, are smiling, are sitting at the back there, but proud of the fact that the largest of the large global companies have entrusted their fleet safety with our technology, right? So that's my advertisement slide. Our stall is right behind you. If you haven't seen it, please do come and have a look. And I have 5 minutes left, as I promised, for questions and answers. Anybody,
Thank you, Durga. Anybody got questions?
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.